Hello everyone, my name is Daryl with NAPA Auto Tech, AAC Master Certified Technician and Curriculum Developer, and we're here today to do the perfect brake job on this 2019 GMC Sierra. On this particular vehicle, per service information, the first step of this job is to disconnect the battery negative cable here. Prior to raising the vehicle, we did check the brake fluid reservoir to make sure the level is low enough so that when we compress these pistons in, it's not going to come out of the top of the reservoir. So removing the tire and wheel assembly, you're going to use electric impact wrench to remove these lug nuts and pull the wheel off. Removing these retaining clips, using a pair of needle nose pliers here. One by one, remove these pins. And that comes out from the pads. Taking the brake pad spreader tool, we use these ears and just gently press these in until they're fully seated. Wear sensors out, removing that inner pad. All right, so next we're going to remove the brake caliper here by removing these two mounting bolts. But prior to doing that, I'm going to secure a bungee cord here to support the caliper once removed. Then using an impact wrench, remove these two bolts. And then place these hooks into these mounting ears so that our caliper is supported. Removing this Torx head fastener that secures the brake rotor onto the hub. And then removing the brake rotor. All right, now we're down to this point. If the hub surface was dirty, corroded, pitted, rusted, we would normally take a tool such as this that would go over the lug nuts and recondition this surface along with the spaces in between to remove that buildup. But this one in particular is fairly clean. We only need to hit it with some soap and water. So just using a brush, just going around here and cleaning it. And the same thing for in here. You can see some of that dirt and stuff comes off of it. Everything's clean and dry. That's good. We'll apply some ceramic-based grease to the contact points here on the caliper. You can use a brush to apply these as well. This will help prevent the steel surfaces from rusting and corroding, prevents noise, provides some lubrication for all the moving parts. Okay, next we're going to take our NAPA premium rotor that we've removed from the vacuum packaging. These are shipped vacuum sealed, so they do not have an oil type coating on them. These are installed clean and dry, but we will have some fingerprints and stuff to remove here. We'll wipe those off. We'll install that retaining fastener, and we'll just snug that down a little bit. I'm just going to take, again, some soapy water on a towel and give it a wipe down here, and then we will follow it up with a clean, dry rag. That way we don't transfer any grease or any oil onto the brake pads. Now, if those surfaces are clean, I can install my brake caliper. So I'm going to intentionally do this. What we want to look for is make sure that the brake hose is not twisted. If we were to install like this, that would be a problem. So we need to make sure the caliper is getting oriented correctly. Caliper mounting bolts. Next, we will run them up and then finish tightening with a torque wrench. These bolts torque to an initial 37 foot-pounds of torque, and then you rotate them additional 30 to 45 degrees of angle. These are a reusable bolt. Otherwise, service information would have mentioned to replace these. So always make sure you're checking service information. So with our torque wrench, we're going to torque these down, and then this lower one. And then using our ratchet, we will rotate it an additional 45 degrees. And that fastener is secured. All right, next we will be installing a set of the NAPA Silent Guard brake pads. These can be identified with the shield as part of the silencer backing here. So this inner pad, the wear tab, was facing downward. So we're going to make sure that the new replacement ones face in the same direction. These are going to go into position. So installing these two guide pins into the brake pads through the mounting ears to the caliper body. And then we will install the retaining clips for these pins. Once those are secured, we will take this clip that goes onto the top to prevent rattling. We'll install, hook it over that lower pin, squeeze in between the top, and then lift it over that top one, and now it's installed. So next step in finalizing this procedure, we need to torque down the rotor faster, and we're going to use a torque wrench and a screwdriver just to hold it in place. And these torque to 16 foot-pounds per service information. So next step is to install the new brake pad wear sensor that comes in the Silent Guard kit. This will slip into a groove on the back side of the brake pad with a metal clip on it to retain it in place, and then plug in the electrical connector, and then we are done on this brake job. We're going to do sensor, find the groove on the back side of the brake pad here. It's going to slide into place and clip. Then finally, locate the locking ear on the tab for the connector. Insert, clicks, and then engage the assurance connector. All right, so right now I am going to depress the brake pedal by hand. 3, 2, 1. Releasing, pressing again. 1, 2, 3, pressing again. And within a few strokes, we should have that slack taken up at the brake pad and it firmly against the rotor surface. Right before I put on the wheel, I want to make sure I go through a mental checklist of everything I've done and touched to make sure everything is correct before I install the wheel. I have already torqued down the caliper bolts. All of my contact points have been greased. All my caliper hardware is in place. All my clips and pins are correctly positioned. Rotor retainer has been installed and torqued. That way, all that is left on this particular vehicle is to install the wheel and torque down the lug nuts. Always install these by hand. Start several threads. That way we don't risk cross-threading a lug nut. And then we will come back with our impact here and just run these down until the slack is taken up. Now, if this side is complete, we'll repeat the same process for the other side and complete our front end brake job. We're just gonna go down low enough to where the tire touches the ground so we have some weight on the wheel. Per service information, these lug nuts will torque onto 140 foot-pounds. We have our torque wrench now set to that value, and we'll torque these lug nuts. So now our lug nuts are torqued down properly, we are good to go on this corner.